Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, the One Piece podcast that digs deep into the Grand Line, one chapter at a time.
This week, we are covering Chapter 180, Alubarna Rush.
And what a title. The clock is ticking, the country is about to explode, and the crew is scattered. But Robin, we have to start at the absolute bottom, literally, with Luffy buried up to his neck in quicksand.
He's defeated. Or so he thinks. He's had his first real, definitive loss against a Shichibukai. The water he was carrying is gone, the hook is through his chest, and he's sinking into the earth. It's a moment of profound failure for him. And then, a hand reaches out to save him. The last hand in the world anyone would have expected.
I mean, truly the last person. If you made a list of 100 people who might save Luffy in this moment, Miss All Sunday would be number 101. She's the second in command of the organization trying to kill him and his friends. This is the woman who blew up Igaram.
Or so we thought, but we'll get to that. For now, all we see is this calm, elegant woman who just hours ago was with the man who left him for dead, now intervening.
And she doesn't just save him, she asks him a question that changes everything we thought we knew about the world. It's one of those Oda moments where you can feel the entire scope of the story expanding in a single panel.
It's a question so fundamental, if you want to be part of the conversation as we unravel it, you should probably make sure you're following the show. We're going to be talking about this one for a long, long time.
Absolutely. Let's get into it. Luffy is sinking, Crocodile's words about being a proper pirate echoing in his head, and then flowers.
An arm sprouts from his shoulder, then another, and he's just lifted out of the sand and dropped onto solid ground, the work of Miss All Sunday. Her Hana Hana no Mi is such a strange and versatile power. We've seen her use it for restraint, for eavesdropping, but this is the first time we've seen it used for rescue.
My first thought was, okay, this is a trap. She's pulling him out to finish the job herself, or to mock him, to do something crocodile-level villainous. I was tensed up, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe she pulls him out just to drop him from a great height or something. There's no way this is an act of kindness.
But she doesn't. She just saves him. There's no taunt, no threat. He thanks her, completely earnest, because that's just who Luffy is. He doesn't hold a grudge or question the motive in the moment. An act of kindness is an act of kindness. And then she asks it, the question.
Why do you people with D in your names continue to fight? Just lays it out there. My jaw was on the floor. It hits even harder because Luffy has no idea what she's talking about, but we, the readers, have a tiny breadcrumb.
This is the second time we've heard about this initial. The first was from Dr. Kureha on Drum Island, mentioning that Gold Roger's real name was Gold D. Roger. She said it almost as an aside, a piece of trivia while talking about the will of the inherited. But this is different. Kureha stated it as a fact of the past. Miss All Sunday is asking about it as a living, breathing phenomenon.
And now Miss All Sunday, Crocodile's number 2, knows about it too. And she doesn't just know it exists, she's asking about its purpose, its will. The phrasing is so specific, you people, and continue to fight. It's not why are you fighting, it's why do you continue to fight, as if it's this inherent, unstoppable trait they all share.
She seems to believe it's a lineage or a group with a shared destiny. She says, you people. It implies there are others and that they all share this common trait of fighting on, perhaps against a specific ancient enemy. She's clearly an intellectual, a historian. She's not asking as a villain. She's asking as a researcher. She has a hypothesis, and here, in the middle of the desert, is a living sample for her study.
And it connects back to what Kureha said about the will of D living on. Here's someone who seems to be studying that very will. And Luffy's answer is just perfect. He has no idea what she's talking about. He's just Luffy. It's not some grand destiny for him. He just does what he does. That almost seems to disappoint her.
I think it does. I think she expected a flicker of recognition, some inherited knowledge passed down through generations. She's clearly searching for an answer, for a piece of a puzzle she's been trying to solve for a long, long time. And this kid who carries this momentous name is completely oblivious to its weight. He can't give her the data she's looking for, so she just drops the subject. It's a dead end for now.
And then Pell shows up, Alabasta's guardian, looking ready to tear her apart for being with Crocodile's organization. He comes in hot, rightfully assuming she's an enemy who just finished off this intruder. The tension spikes again.
But she isn't remotely threatened, not even a little. She stands there, calm as ever, and essentially tells the country's strongest warrior to go help this pirate boy. She even tells him where Vivi's headed. She basically gives Pell, a key agent of the kingdom, operational intelligence against her own organization.
She points him in the right direction. She tells Pell that Vivi is going to Alubarna and that he should aid Luffy. She is actively working against Crocodile's plan right in front of one of Alabasta's protectors. This is way beyond just having her own motives. This is blatant treason to Baroque works. What is her game? Is she trying to get Crocodile taken out so she can take over, or is there something else in Alabasta that she wants, and she needs Crocodile out of the way to get it?
Her actions suggest she needs the current conflict to play out in a very specific way, a way that doesn't involve Crocodile winning too easily. She's not just a participant, she's like a stage manager, moving pieces back into place after the lead actor has knocked them over. And then she just summons a giant Fwani, one of those giant gators, and rides off, leaving Pell and Luffy completely bewildered. Her motives are a total black box.
All Luffy knows is he was saved, and now he's got a powerful Zoan user next to him. And what's the first thing our captain says after cheating death and learning about his secret initial?
I'm hungry.
Of course. That's our captain. Priorities are always in order. Food first, unraveling ancient mysteries of the world second. It's so perfectly Luffy. He just had the biggest lore bomb in the series dropped on him, and his only thought is meat. It keeps him and the story so grounded.
It brings us to our next scene, which I think sheds even more light on Miss All Sunday, confirming the suspicions her actions just raised. We cut to Nanohana.
Yeah, where the rebellion started, the port town, and we see someone in a cloak looking pretty beat up, and it's Igaram.
He's alive.
He's alive. Mr. 8 made it. I was so sure he was gone back at Whisky Peak. His ship exploded. We saw the fireball. That felt like one of those moments where Oda establishes real deadly stakes, a loyal protector sacrificing himself for his princess. It was tragic.
And who was on that ship with him, supposedly to ensure his demise?
Miss All Sunday.
And who was it that reported his death to Crocodile with that cold, detached demeanor?
Miss All Sunday. Bro, she faked his death. She let him escape. This changes everything about that moment. It wasn't a cold-blooded assassination. It was a cover-up. She staged the whole thing. How did she even do it? Use her powers to create a decoy boat, plant explosives on a different ship, smuggle him off in the confusion? The level of planning and deception is insane.
First, she saves the life of Crocodile's primary enemy, the one person who could physically stand up to him. Now we learn she also orchestrated the survival of the Queen's most loyal guard, a man who is now rushing to reveal the truth of the conspiracy to the rebel army. These are not the actions of a faithful subordinate.
She's playing her own game 100%. Whatever Crocodile is after, she has a different goal entirely, and it somehow involves keeping the forces that oppose him in play. It's like she's trying to balance the scales, ensuring neither side gets wiped out before something else happens. What that something is, we have no idea.
It's a dangerous game. She's hiding her moves from a man who trusts no one. The risk she's taking is immense. Crocodile would kill her without a second thought if he found out about this deception. Her composure is even more impressive knowing the tightrope she's walking.
While Igaram is rushing to stop the war, we see the rebel army, led by Kosa, riding through the desert. The final confrontation is coming. They look determined, they look ready. They genuinely believe they are fighting for justice.
And as they ride, the consequence of Crocodile's power becomes real in a devastating way. The sandstorm he created in the capital, the one he summoned with his dance powder, finally reaches Yuba.
This poor town town, and poor Toto. He's the only one left standing there as this monstrous wall of sand comes to swallow everything he's worked for. We just saw him a few chapters ago, giving Luffy water, holding on to this last sliver of hope for his home. And now this.
He doesn't run. He just stands there and yells at the storm. Yells that it can't break the spirit of Yuba. He's screaming at an act of nature, or in this case, an act of a god-complex-wielding warlord. It's a moment of pure, stubborn defiance.
That's the heart of this country, right there. That old man. He made a promise to Luffy that he'd keep digging, that he wouldn't let the oasis die, and he's keeping it, even in the face of this. It's that unbreakable will. It's what Vivi is fighting for. It's the spirit of Alabasta, embodied in one old man shaking his fist at a hurricane of sand.
A will that seems to be a theme in this chapter. The will of D, Toto's will to protect his home, it's everywhere. It's the driving force of this entire saga, the refusal to give in to despair.
And speaking of unbreakable will, let's check in with the rest of the crew, who are facing a slightly more ridiculous but just as serious problem.
They've reached the Sandora River, the last major obstacle before Alubarna. They can literally see the city from the riverbank. They are so close. But their ride, the giant crab Hasami, has a problem.
He can't swim. He's a desert crab. Of course he can't swim. It's such a perfect Oda problem. It's not some giant monster or enemy agent blocking their path. It's basic biology. They have this giant fast ride, and it's defeated by the most basic property of water. The tension is so high, and Oda just injects this moment of absurd realism.
Usopp is panicking, as is his nature, but Chopper, our brilliant doctor, has an idea. He remembers from a book that this species of crab, the moving crabs, are very fond of female dancers. It's such a specific piece of knowledge, and it's a great moment for Chopper, showing that his studies have practical, if bizarre, applications.
And who just happens to have a dancer outfit from their cover story in the last town? Nami! The setup and payoff is just beautiful. Oda planted that seed with the cover story, and now it's bearing the most ridiculous fruit.
Sanji's reaction is exactly what you'd expect. Pure, unadulterated joy. He's found his paradise in the middle of a war zone. His eyes turn into giant hearts. He's floating on air. Even Matsuge the camel is blushing. It's a fantastic little character beat that breaks the tension.
Nami is not thrilled, but she knows what's at stake. She understands the urgency. So, with great reluctance, she does the reveal, and Hasami just goes into overdrive. Eyes popping out, steam shooting from his claws, the whole deal. It's classic cartoon physics, and it's hilarious.
He charges at the river, full speed, looking like he might just part the waters through sheer force of will. For a second, you think this insane plan might actually work.
And nope, sinks like a rock. Glug, glug, glug. Just gone. The silence after he disappears is deafening.
It's a hilarious gag, but the implication is serious. They just lost their ride. They have to leave him behind and cross on foot. The clock is ticking and they've just been massively delayed. That one moment of comedic failure has potentially doomed the entire country.
It feels so hopeless for a second. They get across, but they know it's going to take a day to reach Alubarna now. The war will be over. The rebellion will have started. Vivi will have failed. You can feel the air go out of the balloon.
And to make matters worse, a giant Sandora catfish emerges from the river to eat them. It's adding insult to injury. They're at their lowest point, and the world literally tries to swallow them.
They just cannot catch a break. From one disaster to the next, they're about to be swallowed whole, and then salvation comes from the most unexpected place.
A flurry of punches from the riverbank. It's the Kung Fu Dugongs.
The Dugongs, the ones Luffy beat up and made his disciples chapters and chapters ago near the start of the desert. This is what I love about Oda's writing. Nothing is a throwaway. That seemingly random, funny encounter wasn't just a gag. It was planting a seed that would blossom at the moment of their greatest need.
They saw Luffy's crew, his fellow disciples, as they call them, in trouble, and they intervened. They have this deep sense of loyalty to their master, Luffy, and by extension to his friends. They even beat up the giant catfish for them, a creature that must be one of the apex predators of this river.
They took out the catfish, and now the crew has a new ride. The dugongs are literally dragging the unconscious fish across the water like a raft. It's brilliant. It's absurd. It's perfect One Piece. Luffy's influence just ripples out and creates allies in the strangest places. He doesn't ask for loyalty. He inspires it just by being himself.
They solved the problem of crossing the river, but once they're on the other side, the main issue remains. The immediate danger is gone, but the strategic problem is the same.
Right, they're still too slow. The catfish can't travel on land. Matsue can only carry 2 people, and Sanji makes it very clear who those 2 people will be, much to Usopp's chagrin.
They're right back to square one, stranded, with no way to reach Alubarna in time. The hope from the dugong's appearance just vanishes. The emotional roller coaster of this chapter is just relentless.
You can feel Vivi's desperation. She's on her knees, just completely broken. They are so close, but the desert is just too big. It's over. And then, a sound.
A familiar quack.
It's Karoo, and he's not alone. He brought the whole squad, the super spot-build duck troops. The cavalry has officially arrived. This moment gave me chills. It's the real turning point.
Karoo, who we thought was just a slightly goofy animal companion for most of the story, has proven to be an incredibly capable commander. He understood the situation, saw that their ground speed was insufficient, left to get reinforcements, and returned right when they were needed most. He's been off-panel, executing his own critical mission.
This is it. This is the moment. They have a ride. Not just a ride, an entire squadron of the fastest birds in the kingdom. This whole sequence of losing hope with the crab, getting it back with the dugongs, losing it again on the shore, and then getting it back in the most triumphant way possible, it's just super.
It's the turning point. For the first time, it feels like they might actually make it. All the pieces are falling into place for the final confrontation.
You said it. And while they're gearing up for their mad bash, we get a quick check-in at the western gate of Alubarna, reminding us what they're racing towards.
With the remaining Baroque Works officer agents, Mr. 1, Miss Doublefinger, Mr. 4, and Miss Merry Christmas, the elites.
And they're basically doing a pre-battle briefing. They acknowledge that the Straw Hats have taken out a surprising number of their colleagues, from Mr. 5 all the way up to Mr. 3 in Little Garden. They're not underestimating them completely, but they're definitely not scared.
But they're not worried. There's a cold confidence to them. Mr. 1 in particular seems completely unbothered. He has this detached, almost bored-looking expression. He seems like a professional killer, and for him, this is just another job. They state the mission objective clearly.
It doesn't matter what happens to the rebels or the royal army. All that matters is that Princess Vivi is eliminated. That's the linchpin of Crocodile's plan. If she dies, the last voice of truth and hope in the kingdom is silenced forever.
It sets the stage perfectly. The crew has their ride, they have their hope back, they are charging towards the city with the fate of the nation on their shoulders. But the enemy isn't some random mob. They're elite, they're waiting, and they have a single deadly focus. The race is about to become a battle.
Man, what a chapter. It starts with the deepest lore question we've ever had and ends with the cavalry arriving for an all-out sprint. All the pieces are moving to the final stage in Alubarna. This chapter is a masterclass in pacing and manipulating the reader's emotions.
It feels like the end of the journey and the beginning of the war all at once. The travel is over. The confrontation begins now.
Absolutely. And I'm still reeling from that Will of D question. I mean, my mind is just racing with theories. Are they descendants of the ancient kingdom? A specific family? What do they continue to fight against? I feel like we could do a whole episode just on that one question from Miss All Sunday.
I'm sure we could. Shall we move on to predictions for chapter 181?
Let's do it. You go first.
Okay, my first prediction is that the next chapter will open on the reunion. We'll see Vivi, so relieved to see Karoo, and get a proper introduction to the super spot build duck troops as they all mount up. A moment of hope before the chaos. It will be a full-page spread of them beginning their charge.
I like that. A little quiet moment. My first one is that we're going to see a split. The crew will realize they can't all just ride to the palace. The agents are at the gates. I think Vivi will explain the layout of Alabasta and where the agents are likely to be positioned, and they'll formulate a quick plan. I'm calling it. Nami's going to end up facing Miss Doublefinger, the stylish navigator versus the spiky assassin.
That's a good matchup. For my second prediction, I think we will see Koza and the rebel army arrived at the gates of Alabasta at the same time as Vivi's group. It won't be a simple arrival. It will be a chaotic convergence of all factions at once. We'll see the rebels clash with the royal army who are just defending their city, not knowing they're being manipulated. It will force the king's army to defend against their own people, the tragedy Crocodile engineered coming to fruition.
Oh, that's tense. I love it. Okay, my second prediction is about Luffy. He's with Pell now. They're going to find a giant beast for him to eat. He'll get his strength back, and Pell is going to fly him directly to the palace, bypassing the chaos at the gates entirely. He's going straight for the final boss. No time for mini-bosses. He's on a direct intercept course with Crocodile.
A direct route to Crocodile. That fits. My final prediction is about Miss All Sunday. We won't see her report back to Crocodile. Instead, we'll see her positioned somewhere in Alabasta, perhaps on a high rooftop with a book, observing. She's not a participant anymore. She's a spectator, waiting to see how the D will change the tides of fate. She set the pieces back on the board, and now she wants to see how the game is played.
Watching to see if Luffy gives her the answer she's looking for, not with his words, but with his actions. I dig it. For my last one, I think we'll get a glimpse of Crocodile. He'll be in the palace, probably talking to the captured King Cobra, putting the final touches on his master plan, completely unaware that Luffy is alive and that the Straw Hats now have the means to reach the city in time. Just a quick scene to show his arrogance and dramatic irony before everything comes crashing down.
The villain's final moment of calm before the storm he created turns against him.
Exactly. That's the good stuff. What a setup. Join us next time as we dive into what will surely be the explosive start of the battle for Alabasta. Until then, keep sailing.